Welcome back. My name is Krishna, and in this video, I'm going to take a look at how you can creatively use ethically generated AI art, in this case from Adobe Firefly, as a creative starting point to create some original sketches. And this is mostly me thinking along my feet and kind of talking through how I'm going to approach this. So the first thing I do is I've just downloaded this, what looks like some kind of a small garden home. And I am just going to start off by just rotating this thing upside down. And when I look at this AI art, my goal here is not to copy this or do anything with it, but I'm just looking primarily at shapes. So I'll even go one step better and just use filter, blur, Gaussian blur, so I don't have to look at the details. And what I notice here is I have this really interesting kind of like central shape here. I've got this eye. I've got this other eye over here, and those are the elements that I'm going to use for this particular sketch. I'm not using the whole thing, but I just like to look for interesting shapes. So with this, what I can say is, well, if I want, I can make this into some kind of a bird, right? Let's just make the beak kind of like this. And now I've got this very interesting shape. I'll give him a really short body here. Which bears little resemblance to what I'm starting with, and I've created something entirely new. So you can rotate, you can use Gaussian blur. In fact, let's see if I can challenge myself. I've got this one version over here. Let's see what happens if I were to try to challenge myself to rotate this sideways. What can I come up with? Well, in this particular case, maybe I want to do something with this dome shape that I've got. And I can take that dome shape, I can rotate it, and come up with something else that I can use with that. So this is going to have some thickness. In other words, I'm basically trying to challenge myself to look at shape and come up with something that is going to be interesting. You can also apply the same concept when you're dealing with the photos that you might take or photos that you find online. You can look at things in a different way and challenge yourself to kind of not use the object wholesale, but just to kind of look at some shapes. And that's why I recommend using Gaussian blur or other things, because you're not focusing on details. You're just simply focusing on the shapes that are there. You can pick any part of those shapes. For example, I like this round shape right here. It looks like we have something like this. Something like that. You can always draw two eyes. And I guess I'm creating another bird here. So there you go. You've got three different options here. I'm using portions of the art so that I'm not, completely appropriating this and making something that looks like a derivative work. I'm simply looking at shapes. And you can do this with photos, or you can do this with ethically harvested AI. So let's take a look at another example here. I've got this bear, another piece that I've generated here. So let's apply the Gaussian blur. You don't want to blur it too much, but yeah, maybe that's good. So let's try rotating this maybe upside down and see what looks interesting from this. Well, I noticed that I have this kind of rounded shape, and I have these two little ears, but I'm not going to use them as ears. Instead, what this is going to be is this is going to be part of some type of spaceship. And let's see, how do I want that spaceship to go? Maybe we'll have a couple of aliens that are manning this. And we can always add or embellish other elements to this spaceship. We don't have to just leave it at that. We can say, okay, this spaceship may have some exhaust pipes. Maybe we have a big motor. So I'm adding my own volumetric shapes to this object to make it more visually interesting. This is very similar to an exercise that I talk about with my students, which is looking at shapes in clouds. And when you do that, trying to find something that resembles something that you might already be familiar with, taking a random doodle, like an enclosed shape, and trying to find something interesting with it. That's a very similar approach that I'm sharing with you over here. This is not specific to AI art, but it's something that I think could be interesting. And I'm always curious to know how I can find new ways of, helping my creativity out. So let's look at this other set of shapes here. We've got this shape right here for the glasses. Well, I can make that part of some type of character. I don't know what this character is, but looks interesting. Maybe this character actually has some kind of a dress. And you can always, break up the shapes. You don't have to use every single facet of it. So I've created this interesting character here that looks really nothing like the starting point. So this is something that I would encourage you to try when you're exploring character design. Again, you don't have to use AI art for this, but it's just something that I'm new to this. I'm just starting to experiment, play around with it. It's not something that I'm going to go to on a really frequent basis because I prefer to see those shapes in nature and work through doodles and things like that. But I'm just trying to wrap my head around possible uses that AI art could represent or could help with the creative process without worrying about, making something derivative. So when you're blurring the image and you're rotating it and changing it upside down, I'll just do one more here just as a quick challenge to myself. I'll move this character down here, move the character off to the side. So in this case, let's see. Maybe I'll use that nose and create some kind of a vehicle from that. Maybe it's like a bus. Shapes are everywhere. You don't have to use AI art for this technique, but it's just something that I wanted to explore and see what I could do with it, how I could use it to help spruce up my creativity without, wholesale borrowing elements. I'm not drawing a bear here. I'm simply looking at this from a shape standpoint to see what I can come up with. So if you found this tip to be helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up so more folks can find it. And if you found this video to be useful, consider subscribing to the channel. I've got plenty of great tips that I think will help you level up your digital art game. And as always, if you have any questions or you have any requests, please drop those in the comments and I'll do my best to address them. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you found value in the video and I wish you a great week. Bye.